this is Jaden. Um, this is the next part of my collection that I've been wanting to talk about, where I've gone over all my Nintendo stuff, all my PC stuff, and all my Xbox stuff, pretty much, and also Genesis as well. Um, and I've been wanting to do this next part for a minute, but it's just been kind of crazy, um, with me just either working or just too tired to just kind of do really much anything. But now I wanted to go over all of my PlayStation stuff that I have, which is PS1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, with the amount of stuff I have, I'll probably end up just making two separate videos, one for PS1 and PS2, and then do PS3, PS4, and PS5 in another one. Because this will probably be pretty long if I didn't do it that way. Now, for PS1 games that I have a decent chunk of them, but I haven't really played the majority of them because I've kind of just got them from my grandparents because they had a collection of old PS1 games. So I haven't played all of them, but there are a couple in there that are still my favorites that I'm going to talk about. But I think the PS2 games will be some of the more interesting to talk about. Anyway, first up, I don't know why I said next up. First up that we have for PlayStation 1 games is Baldi's. I don't know anything about this game. I remember seeing this and just being kind of confused. It kind of looks like a tower defense or like a strategy game from like PC. Yeah, crazy strategic fun, it says on the front. So it kind of just gives off that vibe. But yeah, lead your subjects, conquer the land. The artwork is kind of uh something, I will say. But yeah, I don't know anything about this, so we're just gonna move on from that. Baldi's. Next up we have, what is this? Oh, Blade for PlayStation. Another kind of similar story. I don't really know too much about this one. I've never really gotten into Blade, but I have heard how great it is. I think I've seen the PlayStation 2 Blade, which I think Blade 2 or one of the Blades on PlayStation 2. I think I've seen a decent bit of gameplay on from watching one of Donkey's videos. But it looks pretty cool for something that's come from this generation. I mean, it's full 3D. The character models look like fucking. They got that whole thing where it looks like they just slapped a PNG on them, but it still looks cool. So yeah, Blade. If I can even put it back in. What do we got next? We have. Oh, here's a more interesting one that I can talk about. Crash Bandicoot Warped. This is the third Crash game for PlayStation 1 because it's part of like a whole trilogy of Crash games at the time. Crash Bandicoot was like kind of one of the more bigger 3D platformers at the time, especially on PlayStation, where it was like kind of their mascot for a little bit there. Um, from Naughty Dog. This was before they made stuff like Jack and Daxter, Last of Us, Uncharted, all that stuff. Um, and this I played Crash Bandicoot 1 and 3 because originally I played Crash Bandicoot for the first time when I played them years ago on the remastered collection, the Crash Insane trilogy. Um, and I only ever beat one on that trilogy, but then I went back and replayed or played for the first time the PS1 version, and then played Crash Bandicoot Warped as well. And this is probably my favorite one that I've played so far, favorite Crash game. I do want to go back and play 2, and definitely play Crash Bandicoot 4. But this is definitely my favorite. It has a lot of like just fun 3D platformer gameplay, and it mixes it up with some like driving sections and all that. And just I don't know. I really like this game. I'm really glad I finally have it physically now. I This was like a not more recent one, but I think I got this like a couple months ago. So glad to finally have it in my collection. Crash Bandicoot Warped. Um, next game, which kind of continues the whole Crash thing, is Crash Team Racing, CTR. I haven't played this, but I have seen a decent bit of gameplay from it. It's basically, it kind of goes off the success of Mario Kart a bit and basically just puts Crash and the gang inside of it to make like a kart racer, but with Crash characters. From what I've seen, it looks cool enough. It basically just looks like, your Mario Kart clone. But it does look like it has its own bit of fun too. So I'll probably give this a shot at some point. So yeah. Next, this is a game I can talk about. Final Fantasy VII. Um, for a lot of the PS1 games that like I bought like pre-owned, um, I'm not been God, I can't speak. I'm not as stingy about it being like the greatest hits version of the Black Label, because I don't know. I think the greatest hits still look good. You know, I think it kind of can clash with the art a little bit, but I think they're still cool looking. But anyway, Final Fantasy VII is probably, I want to say, one of my favorite games of all time. If not just the first game, then the whole like series of Final Fantasy VII is definitely some of my favorite just video game stories and just worlds to explore. Um, I beat Final Fantasy VII in 2021, so about like 4 years ago, I want to say. 2021 is when I first beat it because I initially, this was probably one of the oldest games I played that wasn't something like Mario or Sonic, um, especially from this time period. And I remember just when I first played it thinking that like how old it looked because I wasn't used to playing like old games. I think I played the Steam version of Final Fantasy VII for the first time and just like seeing all of the old like polygon characters and all that. I was like, "Oh my god, it's so old." Especially with the fact that I didn't really like turn-based games a lot, but I was kind of getting into those a little bit. Um, and I think I want to say I got used to it. I really did. Where like I didn't find it as jarring as I initially did. And I think it's because of this game that like got me into playing more old games that like I didn't like run away from because oh they looked old or whatever. Um, but when I first played this game, I think I want to say I got to around like a maybe the halfway point, maybe a little like before the halfway point. Um, and spoilers in case you haven't seen Final Fantasy VII, because I will talk about a decent bit. It's before Aerith's death, and I want to say this is before you get the black materia. I want to say, and you fight that wall monster. Basically, I want to say I got past that, and then I think I stopped playing for a decent bit. Um, and then when I finally went back to it, I'd already seen how the game ended because I stopped playing it and I looked up like a long play of it um, on YouTube because the original reason I went back to the original Final Fantasy VII was because I wanted to play the remake. I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII remake, and because of that, I went back and played the OG because apparently I'd seen that it was like kind of like a pseudo sequel, like it had like you could play Fantasy VII Remake as if it's its own game, but you get a bit more out of it if you played the original. So I played the original and basically watched the long play. And then when I came back to it, I finally did end up beating it. And it was such like an exhilarating experience because I didn't really know if I would ever beat like this game or a game like this, especially from its time. Um, and keep in mind, I wasn't like huge into fantasy games either. Um, like turn-based and fantasy like style worlds I didn't really like, and so to finally like beat a game that was kind of like it, this definitely set me on the road to just playing more RPGs in general, whether that be action RPGs, turn-based RPGs, strategy RPGs. So yeah, no, I love the world of Final Fantasy VII. I love the characters so much. I the characters in this are good, but I really like them in the remake sequels, which I'll talk about in the next part when I talk about PS5 games. But no, Final Fantasy VII. I love this game so much. I tried to get. I think I bonded a lot with a friend of mine over Final Fantasy VII because even though he didn't play the original game, like his and my love for the remakes and Crisis Core and the movies, Advent Children, all that, is something we still talk about to this day, and it's really cool. And I've been trying to get another friend into it as well, but his when he got through like parts of this game, he lost his save data, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII. I love this game so much. I'd definitely be down to replay this again at some point. I love the materia system in this because you just mix and matching all the different materials in it and all that is really fun, and it's just so cool. It's so cool. I love this game so much. I can go on and on about the Final Fantasy VII games and like their story and their gameplay, but it's kind of like the same thing with my last video with Alan Wake, except with Final Fantasy. So yeah, Final Fantasy 7. And this is definitely the first Final Fantasy game I beat, which was 7. Next up, we have another Final Fantasy 8. This has Black Label too. I don't know, something about it just feels so substantial. It feels like it has weight to it. But yeah, Final Fantasy 8. This came out on the same day as the Dreamcast came out in 9/9/1999, if I remember correctly. And this was like the biggest like thing that people were excited for at the time, especially with Final Fantasy 7, because with Final Fantasy 7, that kind of like changed RPGs in America and how they're reviewed. Because keep in mind, in America, RPGs weren't really like as big as they were in something like Japan. Because in Japan, they were huge. You know, you couldn't go around the corner without seeing some type of JRPG. Um, but with Final Fantasy 7, you know, when they brought that over to the US and how they marketed it, basically with how cool it was and them showing like the CG cutscenes instead of the actual gameplay, it got a lot of people who didn't really play RPGs or were scared off by them into playing them. And so that was like probably one of the most popular RPGs and definitely got like people into Final Fantasy. Um, with Final Fantasy 8, however, you know, obviously this was like one of the most hyped games because of Final Fantasy 7. This is definitely one of, if not the most divisive game in the franchise. This and probably up there with Final Fantasy 13. Um, because this definitely, like, a lot of people were excited that, you know, the character models actually looked like pretty realistic. They were actually like well proportioned and stuff. Um, but with how some of the systems work in this game, like the junction system and how, you know, you draw magic in this game, you know, it definitely like isn't everyone's favorite. And I haven't played like a ton of this game, although I will say the CG cutscenes in this look amazing on a CRT, like an old CRT. But this is one I'm definitely going to try playing. The only reason I haven't played it, like, I haven't gone into it already, is because I do already know how this game ends and like most of the story beats, because I've seen a playthrough of this already. But it's definitely one I'll go back through just to say I played in, just to kind of experience it a bit myself, even though I've already seen how the story ends. The main theme of this game with the lyrics, I think it's Eyes on You or Eyes on Me or something like that. It's so good. I love the music in all the Final Fantasy games. That's another thing I forgot to talk about with 7, is that the music in 7 is, oh, it's amazing. It's so good. And I don't like eight's music as much, but from the bits I've heard, especially that main theme I was just talking about, the lyric one, it's definitely really good. And you have Squall up there too, Squall and all of them. It's so cool. I love this. Um, but yeah, Final Fantasy 8. I had the choice to getting a I had the option of getting a strategy guide, I think, with this game too, that a friend had offered to let me buy, but I didn't choose to buy it. But definitely something I would be down to get. Next, we have GTA 2, Grand Theft Auto 2. I love that on the front, like on the spine, it literally says Grand Theft Auto 2, but on the front, it's just abbreviated to GTA 2, which is what most people call the Grand Theft Auto games anyway. Um, my history with Grand Theft Auto games, which I'll probably talk about more when I get to the PS2 games, because yeah, I have San Andreas, but I haven't played any of the GTA games other than, okay. Well, let me clarify this. I played GTA 3, San Andreas, and 5, but I've only beaten San Andreas. I haven't gone back to 1, 2, or I haven't played Vice City, and this is before GTA turned into the 3D games that we know with GTA 3. And so this is like the top down Grand Theft Auto games, as you can see on like the box arts. Um, Even though these were still, I believe some of the campaigns that were used for either Grand Theft Auto 1 or Grand Theft Auto 2, there was like a campaign that went on that talked about like how graphic and violent it was, I guess, to get it more attention and notoriety. And it worked. It definitely worked. Especially with something like GTA 3, where that got headlines for the amount of violence and bad stuff you could do in that game. But yeah, um, probably something I'll check out if I'm feeling like bored or just feeling up to it. But it's not one I'll like I'm really racing to go play. But I'm glad I have it, you know. GTA 2. Ooh, next, another great game we have, Metal Gear Solid. I love Metal Gear. Uh, I've played I've played Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4, and I still have yet to beat 5. And I've gone back and played the original Metal Gear games for like the MSX and all that. But Metal Gear Solid 1 was just it was just straight up fun. It was just really fun. Like I loved the sneaking in that game. I loved the fucking batshit crazy story that Kojima was, starting to become known for. Um, and it was just a good time. You had the fucking Kodak calls, you had Snake, and like all this stuff. The first time I ever saw Solid Snake was in Smash Bros. That was the first time I ever saw Snake. First time I ever figured out who he was Super Smash Bros. Brawl, uh, and his introduction, that like campaign and all that. And I had no clue who he was. I just remember thinking just like how like different he felt compared to every other character. Um, and some of like how I know like the series music comes from Smash Bros. And like how it was used and remixed in Smash Bros. So that was really cool to like play these games and like actually hear where the music came from and where some of the sound effects came from. You have like the exclamation point atop people's heads. Oh my god, it's so good. I love Metal Gear Solid. This is definitely one I will replay. I haven't actually tried seeing how this looks on the CRT because I played this on GOG for the first time. So I definitely need to see how this game is cutscenes and like all of that look on an actual CRT. But the gameplay of this is just really fun for being a stealth game as well. It's just a good time. It's Metal Gear Solid. Everyone loves it. Yeah, and I do need to get more of the Metal Gear games as well, Metal Gear Solid games, because there are a couple that I still don't own like physically. I have them digitally, but don't own them like physically, and those are ones I need to get. Next up, we have a game I can't tell you anything about, which is NCAA Football 99. I don't know anything about this game. I have it. Moving on. Oh, but here we go. Here is a game I could talk way more about. Parasite Eve, which is a game that a lot of people probably don't even like really know what it is, which is kind of a shame because I've recently beat this. I want to say I beat this like a couple weeks ago, and I played this on the CRT for the first time because I randomly bought it because you'd heard like whispers and just its name being thrown around a lot when it comes to like the PS1 or like old RPGs that Square had when they were still like Square Soft rather than Square Enix. Um, and so I just randomly bought it. I think I bought it for like 60 or 70. Um, which for an older game that like I don't really even know if I'm gonna like was a bit much for me. But I was like, why not? And I played it, and I really adore this game. Like I said, I beat it pretty recently, but just the vibes of this game. Basically, it's the easiest way I can describe this game is it's like Resident Evil mixed with Final Fantasy. Um, because it has like a contemporary setting where it's this city, this like snowed city with kind of a noir vibe, which I love. I loved the style of this game, especially with the music that goes along with it. This game has a really cool and unique battle theme that I still love. It's really fun. But another thing I liked about this game is that it has like a pseudo turn-based design to it where like it has like the way you encounter enemies is very turn-based in how it's executed, but it's real time in the sense that you could still move around in battles, in like kind of like it's kind of like a running gun kind of where you're like dodging bullets and stuff like that in a sense. Um, but it still feels turn-based and it's really cool. And you use like guns, to shoot enemies and all that. And it's got this really weird story about like the mitochondria and all that. It's so weird. It's such a weird random game, but I love it so much. The style of it is really good too, and the music as well. But yeah, Parasite Eve. Definitely one. I definitely need to play its sequel at some time, but copies for the sequel go for like way way too much money. So I'd probably have to like emulate it or something if not. But Parasite Eve. Really adore this game. Next up we have Ready to Rumble Boxing, which is another game I know nothing about, but I have heard this name more than I have some of the other stuff that I haven't played. Basically, just looks like a boxing game, but like I said, I have heard this name more. So yeah, there we go. Next up, we have Running Wild, another game that I have no clue what this is about. It has elephants on the cover. It looks like a racing game, kind of, which is kind of what the back of the box kind of gives with the screenshots. And yeah, that's about it. Now, here is a video game, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill. Oh my lord, I love the Silent Hill series. I so the story with this one is that um, I got this a couple months ago. The way I got Silent Hill 1 is that this was actually a graduation gift um, from that I got from my parents. And I was so surprised to see this even because I've seen like with how much I love Silent Hill, I've seen how wild the prices for these games can go physically. Like the PS1 games, the PS2 games, hell, some of the even the PS3 games, PS3 and Xbox 360 games go for like new games now, but some of the PS1 and PS2 games go for hundreds of dollars. And so when I saw this, I was like shocked because I was like, how much did this even cost? And they were just like, you don't want to know. That was it. So, um, and this was like one of the main thing. Well, this was one of the only things they given me. So I was like, yeah, no, I can understand why because this definitely cost an absurd amount of money. But I was so grateful to have this because I love Silent Hill. I love the vibe of Silent Hill so much. I've played I played and beaten Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4, Silent Hill Origins, and Silent Hill Homecoming. I need to play Shattered Memories and I need to play Downpour. And I'm so hyped about Silent Hill F, which is coming out here in the next month. I am a bit skeptical about it, but I'm trying to keep my hopes up because I really want it to just be like the older ones. But I don't know, maybe that's cope. Anyway, with Silent Hill 1, um, and this is a funny way I played Silent Hill 1 initially. I played this through emulation when I first played it. Um, because my dad had set up like a thing. He set it up through emulation, but we didn't have a PS1 controller at the time. So I played it with a Super Nintendo controller, which I thought was going to feel weird until I remembered that the PlayStation 1 controller, like the original one, before the DualShock and like the Dual Sticks came out, basically was just a Super Nintendo controller but with thighs on it. So it actually worked really well. And I thought like the tank controls like were going to be annoying as well because I'd heard about how these games controlled. Um, but like I got used to it and I honestly thought it was like really tight and smooth and I was like really surprised at how much I adored it. I loved the setting of it of just going around this like fog-ridden, snowy kind of city, or town, I guess you could say, with just these monsters going around. You had this like the sound from the radio go off whenever something came by. You had all the settings like the hospital and the school and just all these freakish monsters. It just had such like a cool psychological like horror theme to it. Where compared to Resident Evil, where that was more like jump scary, um, kind of like slasher horror in a sense. This had way more like psychological, like get into your head kind of horror. And I think it's kind of shown a bit through the intro part of the game. Like, um, basically, when you're going through that hall, like you're going through that alleyway at the start of the game, and the way the camera angles work and how it keeps getting darker and it opens up into this like this weird, bloodied, like weird kind of world. It's so cool. It's so cool. I love these games so much. And that's not even to say about the soundtrack. The soundtrack of these games. Oh my god. The dude who makes these the soundtracks for the Silent Hill games, I think he did them up until Silent Hill Homecoming when he left. And I think he came back to redo the Silent Hill 2 remake. Um, God, I don't know why I can't remember his name at the top of my head. I love the dude's music. It'll come back to me randomly, but like I know his name, and his music is phenomenal. It works so well for the series, and Yamaoka, yeah, Akira Yamaoka, that's who it is. Um, his music's legendary, and a lot of people I know don't like his music as much because they'll say like, "Oh, he reuses stuff. You reuse the sounds that are already used." But the way he uses them is it's just so good. I love Silent Hill. The story in these games is so good. It's so like nuanced in a lot of ways, especially with the one we'll talk about with the PS2 games. But yeah, Silent Hill, great fucking game, great series. Next up, we have another game I don't know anything about, Skydiving Extreme. Um, it looks like a kind of like an extreme sports kind of game, like a free falling kind of thing. And I don't know anything about it. Again, I told you for most of the PS1 games, I'm surprised I've had a decent bit to say about most of them, but there are some of them where I just have not played or know anything about. They're just ones I've kind of gotten. So yeah, Skydiving Extreme. What do we got here? I'll kind of I'll group these up together because I'm not going to have much to say on either of them, and they're kind of part of the same franchise. Two Spec Ops games. We have Covert Assault and Airborne Commando. I've never played any of the Spec Ops games. If this is a part of the same series as Spec Ops: The Line, that is the one game that I have been wanting to play, because of like how that game like chooses to depict war and stuff and like uses choice. That's the only one I've wanted to play, and I do have that on Steam. I just haven't really gotten to it yet. But these ones on the PS1, I've had really no desire to get to. I just kind of have them. The box art looks kind of cool, I guess, I will say. So, yeah. Spec Ops. If I can plug it back in. There we go. Next, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Now, for Tony Hawk games are games that I have wanted to get into a decent bit. I've played a little bit of Tony Hawk 1, and that was about it, though. But from what I played at that, it was pretty fun, and it was definitely one I wanted to like play more of because like I could see that being like pretty addicting. Because Tony Hawk games are ones you hear about a lot from like people who grew up with them and like how these were like the best things at the time. I'm pretty sure if you go on Metacritic, Tony Hawk games are rated pretty damn highly for like the PS2 and PS1 as like some of the best games like rated and some of the best games of all time. And like with how like they have licensed music and all that, and like Tony Hawk being like some of the star like right up on the box art, like they definitely got people a lot into skateboarding games and just skateboarding in general that than you would think. But yeah, I haven't played Tony Hawk 4. If I want to play any of them, I'd probably try playing. Go back to playing Tony Hawk 1 or Tony Hawk 2 is the one I hear is the best sometimes. But yeah, I have Tony Hawk 4 in case I ever feel up to it. Next, we have Twisted Metal 4. Twisted Metal is also another series I wanted to get into. If I remember correctly, I believe the Twisted Metal games were started by the same guy who would later go on to make the God of War games, like the PS2 ones, David Jaffe, I think, or something like that. I might have that name totally wrong, but yeah. I don't have the first three Twisted Metal games, but I do have Twisted Metal 4. And to be honest, I kind of forgot that there was a fourth Twisted Metal. I thought these only went up to 3, but I was wrong. I know about Twisted Metal Black, I think, on the PS2. That game, I know I've seen the box art for a decent bit. And I've seen gameplay of the first Twisted Metal game. I know the clown imagery is like pretty iconic with these games, but a lot of modern gamers won't really know like much about these games, and to be honest, I don't even either. And I like to think I'm an enthusiast with this shit. But yeah, Twisted Metal is definitely a series I've always been interested in. Then the last PS1 game, or kind of like set of PS1 games I have, is the Tomb Raider Collector's Edition. This is another one of the kind of cooler things that I had. The way I got this was a friend of mine, her boyfriend, gave me like a lot of games that I guess he didn't really care about anymore, or just didn't really collect games much anymore from what I'd heard. And this was in it, basically just like a collector's edition of the first 3 Tomb Raider games. I think Tomb Raider 1 is the only one that doesn't have a disc, though, if I remember correctly. Like this, yeah, this is just the case. But every other, like Tomb Raider 2 and 3, have the discs inside. It's got this little like cardboard sleeve, which is really cool as well. For the history, my history with the Tomb Raider games is that I started playing the Tomb Raider games. I played the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider, which, to be honest, a weird rant that I have with that game is that I really think that game should have just been called Lara Croft because the tomb raiding in that game is like it's there, but it's not like a main focus of the game, and it has to do with like her origin story. So I really think that the 2013 uh, Tomb Raider game should have just been called Lara Croft, but I digress. Um, for the original PlayStation ones, I've played a bit of the first one, and I've tried going back to the first one because I just cannot do with this game's controls. I just with how it's set up. I get this was one of the first like 3D like games of its style. Like action adventure games like that. And it still uses tank controls as well. I know that they have like a remaster remake of them that does have like actual controls, but like with how I play games, I like playing the original versions of them and like the way that they were intended to be played at the time. Um, but playing it like that for me, I couldn't do it. So I picked this one up like two times I think for Tomb Raider 1, and I just ended up falling off both times. And never really had much of a desire to go back into them. Um, but yeah, that's about it. So yeah, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider. So that is all the PS1 games I have. So next we'll probably move on to the PS2 games, which is a way bigger collection. I don't know how much bigger. Probably like a little bit bigger. Maybe it's just because they all like have different size cases. But yeah, we'll move on to that, and that'll probably be a decent bit more interesting to talk about. All right, over here we have the PS2 stuff. Now that I actually look at it, I'll definitely have more to say on these, but it's kind of like a similar amount to the PS1 where I haven't played all of them, of course, but I do know more about them if I haven't played them or beat them. So yeah. Anyway, first game we have is, if I can even get it out, we have 007 Nightfire. Now, I played GoldenEye, and obviously everyone knows about GoldenEye, how that's considered like one of the best like licensed games, I would say. Um, but I haven't really touched much of Nightfire. I've seen gameplay of it, but mainly how I know GoldenEye and like 007 games mainly just has to do with the N64 GoldenEye, which I think is what everyone knows and what people grew up with. I think this game also has co-op like that one, so I think that's still kind of cool that that's like moved over a bit to that. But yeah, 007 Nightfire. Next up, we have Bully, which, to be honest, I don't really. This is one of the few Rockstar games that like people still talk about and people still clamor for like a sequel to. But it's like one of the few Rockstar games like I don't really have much of a desire to go back and play, even with like its cult classic status. But it's basically like kind of like a GTA thing, but except you take. It's like GTA if it was themed after like basically a school or like a high school student or like a kind of that kind of thing basically. Um, and yeah, it's never been something I've really wanted to play, but I like that I have it in case I ever feel like breaking it out. So yeah, Bully. You don't hear a lot of people talk about it now, but the people who do like it really like it. Next, we have Call of Duty Finest Hour, which, does it say exactly who made this? I think it just says Activision, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Okay, so this was basically like a console port, or just its own console version of the original Call of Duty. And I don't remember if this is a different game. I think this is a completely different game than the OG Call of Duty. They basically just brought it over to consoles at the time. And other than that, and the fact that I know that this is like a very like dumbed down version of like the 2003 Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure. I don't know much about it. Yeah. Call of Duty Finest Hour. A lot of people probably don't even know about this version who like play Call of Duty. But yeah, this was basically just like when they made Call of Duty 1, they made a Call of Duty Finest Hour to put to consoles. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is a whole different game than the PC version, but I could be wrong about that. So yeah. Finest Hour. Next, we have Crash of the Titans, which I keep getting this and another Crash game confused. This was in the era of Crash games when they were trying, like Activision, I think. This was either Activision, or this was before Activision, I think.
Or I forget. But either way, oh no, this is Sierra, not Activision. Basically, this was the era of Crash where they tried to like rebrand Crash a little bit and kind of like turn them into like different styles to make them like more appealing, I guess. Because Crash games didn't really, they weren't like kind of mixed. They were kind of mixed a bit, like in the PS2 era, with stuff like Wrath of Cortex and Twin Sanity, which it has its followers and people like them, but like compared to the PS1 games, they're not as good. Um, I keep forgetting if this is one I played. There was a Crash game from this era that had this art style that got it got a port for PSP, and I played a bit of that one, but I don't know if it's this game or there was another game that had the same style. I want to say it's this game though. I think. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll look this up later. One of the games with this rebranded art style had a PSP port, and that's what I played. I didn't beat it, but I definitely played a decent bit of that. So yeah, I haven't played the PS2 version, but I have played the PSP version of whatever game it is I'm thinking about. Um, yeah, Crash of the Titans. Next up, we have Devil May Cry. I have played and beat Devil May Cry. I've played and beat Devil May Cry 1 and 2, and have really wanted to finish 3 and 5. 3 is one I kind of go back and forth with sometimes. It's definitely one I want to try to beat. But Devil May Cry 1, it's a great game. This one has a cool history too, where this started off, this started life as as the one of the first versions of Resident Evil 4, I believe, until later on, basically it turned way too like far from what Resident Evil was and turned into way more of like an action kind of game. Um, and this was kind of like made by Hideki Kamiya, I think it was, because like him and Shinji Mikami were kind of like working alongside at that time for Resident Evil, but like Kamiya had way more of like an action focused design when it came to the Resident Evil games. So basically, Shinji Mikami basically asked Capcom at the time if they could turn this into its own game instead of a Resident Evil game, and it did, and it became Devil May Cry, which has a very like gothic kind of vibe with like hack and slash element. This was kind of like one of the starts of like the hack and slash genre, I would say, with like the gothic art style, and it looks really really cool. Like the castle that it takes place in is really cool. The locations and like some parts way through the game is really cool. The ending boss fight is, I don't like it because it's like a whole different like weird. It's weirdly like a whole different game. But Dante is really cool. Dante with the white hair, you know, fucking cool ass protagonist, cool ass looking one. I remember the fucking crab boss fight from that game. That was really cool. And this was a pretty hard game too. Like, it's definitely not as hard as like OG like original Devil May Cry 3 before the special edition, but it's still pretty hard. It definitely gave me some trouble back when I played it in, I want to say 2022 is when I first played it and beat it. But I bet if I got back to it, I could probably have a little bit of an easier time playing it. But it's definitely still a harder game, and definitely towards the end. It has good music too. Really like this game's music. Devil May Cry. It's not one of my favorite series, but it is one that I do like going back to. I wish I had Devil May Cry 2, not because it's a good game, but because of how bad and like empty it is that I kind of want to have it. So yeah. Next we have Enter the Matrix. I love the Matrix movies and haven't played the game because apparently this game isn't like fantastic. Apparently this uses its own like scenes that like own movie scenes in it, but I think they're like original scenes. Yeah, exclusive film footage from the creators of Matrix trilogy. I don't know why I said Max Payne's because they both have bullet time. But yeah, it's one I've wanted to try out, but from what I've heard, it's not the best. But I like having it because I love the Matrix, and it's a Matrix game, which kind of is funny in the sense because digital and all that. But yeah, I think this takes place in between either Matrix 1 and 2 or Matrix 2 and 3. Matrix Reload and Matrix Revolution or Resurrection. I forget. They all have like the same thing, like the rename. It's all reused now. But yeah, Enter the Matrix. Now here is a video game. This is a video game. This is Final Fantasy X. Oh my god. Sometimes this rivals it a lot of the time for me between this and Final Fantasy VII, between my favorite Final Fantasy game. And I kind of flip-flop back and forth with them. I think overall it's the Final Fantasy VII like series, but I really do love this game as well. I have a decent bit of Final Fantasy games, but the ones I beat in are 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, and I think that's it. I really want to get to 16, 8, and 12. I believe those are the ones I'm missing. I don't really plan on playing 13 because I've already seen a friend kind of go through 13 already. But yeah, Final Fantasy 10, I really enjoyed this. I beat this 2 years ago for the first time. And it's such a cool game. It's such a cool world. You know, it's got the turn-based Final Fantasy style with like the world. It still feels like a Final Fantasy game, even though it kind of goes in more of like a beach kind of theme to it. It's still just the characters are really good, really enticing. This was the first Final Fantasy with voice acting. Um, it's kind of memed about sometimes a decent bit with nowadays, especially with like the fucking scene of Titus laughing. You know, even though people kind of like um, make fun of that scene too much because they don't really know the context of it. But yeah, I love this game so much. Love the music in this game so much too. Ooh, it's so good. It might even rival Sevens with how much like the OG Sevens, with how much I like it. You got Yuna on the back doing her thing. Um, but no, it's such a good game. I love this. I love the story in this so much. Um, the way I remember this, I have a decent bit of nostalgia for this. If not for the fact like the game itself, but just from me hearing about it. Because the way I heard about this was when I was younger. I used to watch a YouTuber called Afma, who would do like a lot of Minecraft role plays at the time, and I was so obsessed with her content at the time. Um, but she did a draw. She did like a draw my life that talked about like her experience with like video games, and she talked about Final Fantasy X being like one of the first games uh, she kind of played that like really like engrossed her like that, and then she played Final Fantasy 11 because of how good this game was. But that game was like a fully online game, and that's how she actually would end up like meeting her husband and all that, which is like a really cool story um, to think about. So yeah, a lot of my nostalgia from 10 comes from like hearing her talk about it, and like she used some of the soundtrack in this game too, like Besaid Island is one I get nostalgic over just from her using that in her Minecraft role plays. Um, and it's because of that that I'm really happy I actually own a box PC copy of Final Fantasy 11. If not the fact that like I could really play this because I don't really know like if this would even still work. Maybe it would. I'm not sure. But I like just having it just because you know, I remember hearing her story about this in Final Fantasy X a lot. So I love this game. Basically, I love playing it. I've tried going back to it. It's still pretty fun. I definitely want to try re-going and re-beating through it again. Um, and the dude who decided that you had to dodge like fucking 100 or however many lightning bolts it was, he's definitely going to hell. Final Fantasy X. Next, we have Final Fantasy X 2, which I haven't gone into, even though I love Final Fantasy X so much, because this is like a pretty different game in terms of like the gameplay and the story from what I've seen. Um, it has way more of like a like kind of like a girl band kind of thing, kind of vibe to it. I've seen a bit of the intro and a little bit of the gameplay. This is one I definitely want to go in, if not for how random and different the gameplay is, then just to see how they continue the story from 10 with like how that game ends. And I'm not going to say what it is, even though I did spoil Final Fantasy 7. I'm not going to say what this is because I do have a friend that's going through Final Fantasy 10 and I don't want to spoil that for them, even though they don't really care about spoilers. But these games are like half, the story is half of these games. So yeah, Final Fantasy X definitely one I'm going to try to get into and play through. I might not beat it because of how like the story and gameplay is. Like apparently it has the worst story but some of the best gameplay. So we'll see. But I'm glad I have it if not. Next up we have Final Fantasy 12, which has really fucking cool art. Definitely goes for like the kind of Star Wars vibe that this game is kind of known for in the series. Um, this is kind of like a bit of an outlier in the franchise too, because this is either like some people's favorites or like people just don't talk about it a lot. I think it's very misunderstood because of like how like it feels like kind of more like Star Wars and like Empire esque. And also, this was like the first game that kind of like really changed up the gameplay, where it kind of goes for like more of like a. It's still kind of turn based, but it plays more like an MMO, with how you have to like idly wait and let your character attack, and then you can choose your kind of their own abilities while they're doing that. Um, this is definitely one that obviously I love Final Fantasy. I'm gonna play this at some point. I've tried playing a bit of it, but I tried playing the Zodiac Age and it didn't hook me at the first time I played it. Um, so it's definitely one I want to try to replay again and be like, oh, maybe this will finally click for me. I bought the PS2 version, even though I know the Zodiac Age is like widely considered to be like the more superior version, with how it has like the job system kind of implemented into it, and like you can have your characters be wildly different classes and like have different abilities. In this game, it's a lot more like they all kind of just feel the same towards the end because they're all working with like the same upgrade grid. It's not like 10, where like they all are kind of on their separate paths, even though like later on they do kind of diverge a little bit. But yeah, Final Fantasy 12 definitely one I'll be playing sometime here in the future. I can never put these back in there. Next up, we have Freedom Fighters, which is one that I think I get this one and SOCOM, I think, confused sometimes, and I don't know why. This is one I believe where you can have like an army of people like kind of attack. This takes place in like a different history kind of vibe. Um, I don't know much about it other than the fact that this is like a game where you could have like up to a lot of different fighters in the battle, especially for like the PS2 era. This was pretty like revolutionary, I guess. In that sense, you just have like a bunch of guys up like shooting in battle, make it feel like more of a war zone. That's about all I really know about it. So definitely one I might check out. Next, we have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon 2. I don't know much about. I haven't played many Tom Clancy games, let alone the Ghost Recon series. So this is one I don't know pretty much anything about. If any of the Tom Clancy games I'd play, I'd probably play uh, Rainbow Six or Splinter Cell. But yeah, don't really have much desire to play this. I just kind of have it. Next up, we have God of War 2. I have played and beat the original God of War 2, the 2005 one for PS2. Great game, fantastic game, great hack and slash. I'd probably prefer it over Devil May Cry 2, which is I always kind of went back and forth with, because between God of War and the OG Devil May Cries, like these are the PS2 Devil May Cries and God of Wars. I always went back and forth on which game I liked better, because I liked the gothic vibe of Devil May Cry more, Devil May Cry 1, but I liked the gameplay more of God of War. So I've kind of gone back and forth with that. Anyway, first God of War, great. I have God of War 2 here. This is what I've been actually wanting to play for so long, but the only reason I tried playing this recently actually, but I think the disc is too like scratched and it doesn't work anymore. So I was really sad that I can't play that on like the PS2 with like the CRT. So I might have to emulate this. But this is one that I have been wanting to play, because I played for my history of God of War series is that I played God of War 1 for PS2, and I played God of War the reboot 2018 for PS4. And I want to play God of War 2, God of War 3, and I want to play Ragnarok. But I don't want to play Ragnarok until I play God of War 2 and 3. That sounds very confusing saying it like that. But yeah, I'll just have to emulate this or something, because now I technically own a copy of it. I just can't play it because the disc is scratched. So yeah, God of War 2. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is the only Grand Theft Auto game I've ever fully beat, because I have played through a decent chunk of the story from GTA 5, but I've never beaten it. And I like this game's like theming and style more, of just like kind of like, I don't know. It's just something about it that feels like way more like it fits way more with like my personality, I feel like, in a lot of ways, than just what I like. Um, and it's really fun too. Like the mission structure is pretty fun. Like going through, seeing the story. It's really good. Characters are really great. Like CJ, Big Smoke, all that. And it was just a game I just kind of binged for like a decent bit of days, and like a decent like week or two. just trying to go through all the missions. Just a kind of game I played in my like when I wanted something to keep my hands busy, and just to see where the story went. Music in it is great too. You know, you have the main theme of the game, all that, all the licensed tracks that you hear. Um, it's just fun driving around and just killing people. um, Trying to think. With this game, I think I was a bit disappointed by the ending and like how them not really building up much, like why Big Smoke kind of like went on the path he did, which I think was kind of annoying. But I still really love the story in this game, and it was just fun doing the missions. So yeah, it definitely makes me want to beat. The only reason I went back and decided I was going to finally beat a Grand Theft Auto was because of Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out, and I wanted to at least have beaten one of them before GTA 6 comes out. But with that bit getting delayed, I think I'll have time to go through and try to beat GTA 5's story. Um, so I think it's kind of ironic that I feel like a lot of people my age grew up with GTA 5, and that's the one they remember. Um, but I feel like I remember this more than I do anything from GTA 5, which is kind of funny. So yeah. Next we have Gran Turismo 4. I haven't really, like I've said multiple times with these, haven't really gotten big into racing games, but this was just one I kind of saw, and I know this game has a really great soundtrack. This and the Ridge Racer games, I think, have really great soundtracks, and so I got it, if not for the soundtrack, but also because I played a bit of Gran Turismo 3, very, very little, like less than I did with like Tony Hawk, I think. But I got this just so I had like, just if I'm ever feeling a Gran Turismo game, I have one. I have a DVD of Gran Turismo 3 as well, but just so I have like a boxed copy of one of them. So yeah, Gran Turismo 4. Next we have Gun, which is a game I know nothing about, but I've seen everywhere just because of the box art. Like this box art, I feel like is always in my head with like the bright yellow, but I don't know anything about it. From the back of it, it kind of just looks like Red Dead Revolver or something, like before Red Dead Redemption, you know? And that's about it. I only know this game for the box art, and that is literally it. Next, here are some games I can talk about. Kingdom Hearts. I adore Kingdom Hearts. I played these back in 2022 as well, and or at least the first one. Well, no, first 1 and 2 I played in 2022. Actually, I might have played all 3 of them in 2022, now that I think about it. I beat them all the same year. I binged through them. Just because it was just a combination of Disney and Final Fantasy, and I just kind of got hooked with them. Like, just the combat of them, like the simple kind of, like, action, hacking, not even hack and slash, just simple action, like press spam X to win all the fights and all that. And I just enjoyed going through the Disney worlds and, like, seeing this, like, overarching, like, weirdo bullshit Tetsuya Nomura Final Fantasy ass storyline. Was just so cool. And, you know, had Donald and Goofy going alongside Sora and all of them. Voice acting was really good in this game, which is kind of surprising. But I love Kingdom Hearts so much. It's such a such a good series. This is definitely one I should pop in sometime soon. I've been wanting to kind of go back through this game. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts. I love the box art too. That's not even talk. I sometimes forget about the box art for some days and don't talk about it enough. But the box art is so cool. You have the giant heart, and you know you had the cartoon version of all of them in the nighttime. Like it's so cool. I love this fucking aesthetic. Because I remember seeing this, but I remember like a lot of nostalgia from like these games comes from just like randomly seeing the box arts and being like, oh, what is that game? That looks so cool and interesting, but like not knowing anything or barely anything about them. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts. Love it. Moving on to another one as well. We have Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh my god, I love Kingdom Hearts 2 so much. So much. It's so fun. It's so cool. Has such cool gameplay. Just the story coming from this to Kingdom Hearts 2. And keep in mind, I know that there was a game in between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Chain of Memories. I did, because I knew that Kingdom Hearts had a batshit crazy story. And I found out that, like, the story doesn't go straight from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2. There was a Game Boy Advance game in between those. So I did have to, like, I didn't play it, but I made sure I watched the cutscenes and, like, knew what the story was. You had the stuff with, like, Naminé and the fucking masked dude who I can't remember his name. anymore, even though I know who he ends up being. Um, the stuff with Organization 13. Oh, Organization 13 is such like a cool like group for like a video game. Like it's such like a cool group because it reminds me a lot of fucking the Akatsuki from Naruto, and I forget which one I saw first, the Akatsuki or Organization 13, but they reminded me a lot of each other, which was really cool. Um, but Kingdom Hearts 2, it has even better combat than the first game. The story goes in like these way different like places. You have the fucking Mickey Mouse here. You this fucker. Say fellas, did somebody mention the Door to Darkness? Yep. It's just and that's I completely forgot to even talk about the music of the original game. Wait, that and this simple and clean, Sanctuary. Oh my god, love them so much. Love the music. And it's not even talking about the music inside the individual like Disney worlds. Like this one has like Beauty and the Beast and Tron, like old fucking rubber hose animation Disney. Aladdin, obviously like that was in the older games too. The older game had like Tarzan, Aladdin, Little Mermaid. Speaking of Little Mermaid, everyone remembers the fucking Little Mermaid mission from this game because of how like cringy it is. But yeah, love Kingdom Hearts too. Love it so much. Oh man, it's I haven't gone back to this since I beat it, but it's one I still remember. I just remember all of them really, all of them in some way. Ah yes, Kingdom Hearts 2. Next up, another just bangers back to back to back. Max Payne. Love Max Payne so much. I love the vibe of Max Payne. So keep in mind, I didn't really know what Remedy games were at the time when I played both Max Payne and Control. I didn't know what they were until I played Alan Wake. Alan Wake is when I kind of like went back and realized like, oh shit, Max Payne and Control are Remedy games and all that. And then I would end up playing Max Payne 2 and trying out Quantum Break and all that. And I replayed Control and all that. I think I might have reset something there. I can't remember. But yeah, no. When I first played Max Payne, I was just playing it based off the vibe that it was just this cool old noir kind of game with like, because I love noir styles, and everyone in my family knows this. I love kind of the detective, black and white, old school styles. Um, so much with like jazz music and all that. I've been meaning to watch SimCity as of late. Um, but Max Payne was one. It was basically a game that I played because I was like, oh, this just sounds like that, but just in a game. And it has this cool like comic panel design to it. I fucking love this game's box art with like the fucking like wanted like kind of a man with nothing to lose. I've never noticed that. That's so fucking cool. Uh, and you have fucking dude. Why can't I remember his name? Oh, it's a literal sin. I can't remember his name. The dude who voices Max Payne because he voices fucking Alex Casey in Alan Wake. He died recently. Oh man, yeah, he lost his battle to cancer. I think. Rest in peace. Such a great voice actor. I genuinely can't. I feel so rude that I can't remember his name. I know his name though, and I love his work um, on Remedy games. It's so good. But yeah, no, Max Payne, and this kind of like was also the game that kind of like really popularized like bullet time like in games as well because you see it a lot more in video games. Obviously, The Matrix kind of like popularized it in like movies, but like this, it just I love Max Payne. Love it so much. And this was like where kind of Sam Lake really came in to like show like his writing chops, especially for games. And it kind of I feel like this really elevated games into more of like a serious medium that people took seriously as well for story with gameplay as well. And it's just so good. It's so good. I really need to get a copy of Max Payne 2 to add because Max Payne 2 I think might even be even better. Even I like them both for different reasons because Max Payne 1 has like kind of a different style with like the snowy kind of city that I kind of like sometimes a little bit better, but the story in Max Payne 2, oh my god, it's so goddamn good. Oh, I need to get a copy of Max Payne 2. I need to get more shelf space in general just so I can, put more up. But yeah, Max Payne. Next up, we have Manhunt, which is a game that I know a lot because for some reason I vaguely remember the box art for Manhunt 2. I think with like the eye because we randomly just like displayed my dad kind of displayed that. I don't remember why, but that's what I remember Manhunt from, was Manhunt's 2's box art. And then later, obviously, I found out like the history behind Manhunt. This game is widely known at the time for like how graphic and violent and just disturbing it was at the time it came out in like 2003. Um, and it's something that I always like would be kind of I'd probably play it just for that, like just because of like its reception to that, and like see if it's as bad now. But yeah, no, this game was definitely on like a lot of things, and even Rockstar themselves at the time kind of like thought like maybe they went a bit too far with how this game like was, like it was very violent. Um, but yeah, that's exactly why I would try this out now. So I'm glad I have it for sure. Yeah, and this is at the time when Rockstar was definitely not far from controversy when it came to stuff like GTA 3, and you have the hot coffee mod from San Andreas and all that shit. So yeah. Next up, we have Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Fantastic as well. Obviously, I've said I played through Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they are just great. They are great, and this was just a complete upgrade from playing Metal Gear Solid 1, going from like the PS1's graphics to just having like these full facial models, all these real cool looking environments with so much detail and everything. The gameplay being like way upgraded and all that. The fucking crazy things that this game does with the story. I'm not gonna lie. With when Raiden came in, like I was pretty surprised that most of the game, like everything after that initial tanker section with Snake, was just played as Raiden. But it was to like kind of feed into the story that Kojima was trying to tell about it all feeling like the same, how similar it felt to the original Metal Gear Solid. And it was like intentionally supposed to be like that, like with how it like delved into the story. And everyone talks about this too, like the fucking ending scene of this game, how this game basically predicted like fucking internet culture that we see today back in 2001. Basically, it predicted memes, which is crazy to think about, with that Kodak call at the end and the fucking with the colonel or whatever you want to call him, because it wasn't even the colonel. Oh my god, it's so weird, it's so cool, and it's just so quirky. Has the quintessential Kojima style, and man, so cool. Metal Gear Solid 2. Next up, we have Namco Museum, which is kind of just a collection of old arcade Namco games. You have like fucking Pole Position, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Galaga. I've kind of just played a decent bit of these. Just it's simple arcade games, just a re-release of old arcade games. They're fun, they play great, and yeah, Namco Museum. Next up, we have Onimusha Warlords. This is the first Onimusha game, I believe, to my knowledge. And another one, I don't even want to think about the amount of times I've said, another one I want to go back to, another one I want to play. Because just there's so many of these I just want to play. I just haven't really got around to it. I've never really been in the mood. But this is one I've wanted to play because it basically just kind of looks like another kind of looks like Devil May Cry, but like with like feudal Japan pretty much. Because I think this came out before Devil May Cry, I want to say. Yeah, yeah. So this has just been one that's always been on my mind. I know that there's a new Onimusha game that's coming out with Capcom. Way of the Sword or something. Way of the Word. I forget what it's called. But there's a new one coming out. And so I wanted to go back and play the original one. Because just it looks like Devil May Cry and kind of old Resident Evil. But just with like a different twist of like feudal Japan. So yeah, Onimusha Warlords. Next up, we have Persona 3 Fez, or Fes, however you pronounce it. I bought this because, obviously, Persona games are pretty known, like, nowadays, if not for their, like, the fucking, like, school kind of aspect and, like managing your tasks, then the music. People still use fucking Persona music, like, fucking 3, 4, especially 5s. And... I've tried getting into the Persona games. I have Persona 5, and I've kind of went back to that a couple times now, but it hasn't really been for me. It hasn't really been my kind of vibe. Well, actually, not even say that, because it's been my vibe. I don't know. I haven't really stuck with it and sit down with it. I don't even know why I said it wasn't my vibe. It literally kind of like it has my has English is really hard. The music in it is great. You know, the fucking dungeons in it are really cool. I just haven't really stuck with it. That's all. And so I bought Persona 3 thinking maybe this one would be one I could like get into or sink my teeth into more. Um, but I just kind of just didn't really finish it either. Even though this does have really great music as well. Fantastic. That's what the Persona games are for me. Just great music and great atmospheres and just settings. So yeah, Persona 3. Next we have Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Prince of Persia is another series a lot of people probably don't really know. I played a decent bit of Sands of Time, um, but didn't really have much desire to finish it. The rewinding mechanic is really cool. The parkour aspect of it is really cool. It's just one for me. I personally don't really feel like going back to, even though I could tell this is a great game. Um, but that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure the main character in this, is voiced by the same guy who voices Sasuke and the fucking Spider-Man from the PS4 Spider-Man games. I believe so. I think Yuri something. I forget. But yeah, um, Prince of Persia. Next up, we have the Ratchet and Clank games, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna group all three of these together because um, they're all pretty similar, and I have pretty similar things to say about all of them. You have Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, and Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. Um, I have only played Ratchet and Clank 1, and to be honest, it didn't really stick with me. Even though like I could tell it was obviously a good game, um, I just didn't really feel like playing more of it. I guess the only and Clank game I've beaten is Rift Apart on the PS5, and even though I could tell that was a good game too, it felt like a slog for me to kind of go through. I did beat it, but it just kind of got like I don't know. It just kind of got like to be it felt like a chore after a while, and so I feel like that one I kind of just didn't really look at the Ratchet and Clank games fondly. But I could tell that the PS2 games were good. I just didn't really play much of one. So, but I like that I have them. Maybe I'll kind of get back into them and play them again. I have wanted to play Jack and Daxter, which this has kind of made me want to play for some reason. Probably because they're both like kind of like similar vibes and aesthetics, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank trilogy on PS2. Actually, I think there might be another one from PS2. I forget. There was a lot of Ratchet and Clank games. Next, we have Resident Evil Code Veronica. This is another one I've been wanting to play that I've tried playing, but my PS2 didn't read it for some reason, so I had to clean the fucking disc lens in the inside of it. So, but now it works now because this is one I've been wanting to like play because this had like a funny story with it. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I've seen conflicting reports about this where I think this was meant to be the original Resident Evil 3, I guess. Um, but they were in because of like this licensing and like publishing thing that was going on with Sony at the time, where only mainline Resident Evil games could only appear on the PlayStation, because they were working on this for the Dreamcast at the time, and they were just going to call it Resident Evil 3, I think. But because of that deal that they had with Sony, they ended up switching the names for this and the Resident Evil 3 that's on PlayStation that we know. So, where this was meant to be Resident Evil 3 and became Code Veronica, the PlayStation game that was meant to be Code Veronica became Resident Evil 3. I think I've heard that's the story I've seen that goes around, but I think I've heard conflicting reports on that. I'm not sure, but yeah, um, I've always wanted to kind of get into this one. I just didn't really, play because of like how it kind of just felt like a spin-off sometimes. Um, but I think because of that, I think I should probably like check it out for sure, because it's one that people kind of theorize will get remade here, especially with like 2 through 4 getting remade, like kind of remade the way that like Final Fantasy VII remake was in a sense. But yeah, Code Veronica. Next we have Second Sight. Really cool box art, I'm not gonna lie. I tried like the intro part of this game and it didn't really hook me, and that was about it. That's where it kind of ended. Um, but I do know this game because this game has like a really cool twist from what I've heard. Um, but that's pretty much all that my knowledge is of this game, and that's about it. Second Sight. Now, here's a game I know way more about. Shadow of the Colossus. This is probably one of my favorite games. It's up there as one of my favorite games of all time. Like, probably in my top 10, I would say. I've replayed Shadow of the Colossus 3 times. Or like 3 or 4 times. I think it's 3, though. Because originally, I played the PS4 remake of Shadow of the Colossus. And really liked it. And then I think I played through it again. And I loved it even more. And then I went back and played the original PS2 version, which it wasn't as good for me as someone who didn't grow up with the PS2 version compared to the remake. But I thought it was like a really cool like vibe. It like just being on the PS2 with like its low frame rate. Just I don't know. It was kind of charming. So I definitely love this game. I would definitely play through Shadow of the Colossus again. I would love to do the. I'd probably try the time trial mode, or probably on like a harder difficulty or something like that. But I want to get the PS2 version just because I wanted to just have it physically instead of just on digitally on PlayStation. And for me, it could have went either way if I got the PS2 version or the PS4 remake. But I decided to get this one because just it was what I was feeling at the time. But yeah, I love Shadow of the Colossus. I love just going around this empty feeling world and just fighting bosses and like feeling like it's like this parkour challenge and trying to figure out this like specific thing you have to do to kill each colossus, and just the minimalistic story where it just shows but doesn't like tell everything. I mean like it does tell you stuff, but that's what it kind of feels like. I love it. It feels like very cinema, and this was at a time when like not all games were like very like cinematic, but just it's so good. I love Shadow of the Colossus so much. Fucking, you have Wander and Aggro. It's so good. If you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, definitely play it. I could say that about a lot of my favorite games I've talked about, but this is just the one where it came to my head. Just play Shadow of the Colossus. Great game. Next up, we have Silent Hill 2. Oh my god, I'm so glad that I have this game. This is probably the most expensive game that I've like personally bought in like myself with my own money. I think this came out to around like 160, I want to say. Um, and I'm so happy to have it because originally when I played, because obviously I gushed about like how much I love the Silent Hill series. Um, but when I first played Silent Hill 2, I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was as amazing as like all the stuff I was hearing about. I guess just for me, I just thought it was like a great game, had great vibes, but I ended it on that. I thought it was great. I thought it was good, and then I keep going through the rest of the series. But then I played the Silent Hill 2 remake. Um, After I played that this year, the Silent Hill 2 remake. And keep in mind, it'd been 3 years since I played Silent Hill 2. Um, and just the remake just floored me. I don't know what it was. I think just going through it again just made me like really appreciate like the story and like everything about it with like the updated graphics and the combat. Because I think definitely the combat in this game definitely kind of like made me like not as impressed with it, because of like how clunky it could be, even if it is kind of intentional in some ways. But the remake basically just helped me appreciate this game so much more, and I just fell in love with Silent Hill 2 again. That I wanted an original copy of the game as well to kind of go back through as well, because obviously like these games can be kind of different. Like the remake and the original aren't like, it's not a one to one. There is some difference. It goes along the same beats, but it's not like the same. So I wanted the original because I started rewatching a bunch of old Silent Hill 2 videos again after playing the remake, and just, oh god, I love Silent Hill 2. I love the remake, I love the original, I love Silent Hill 2 so much. Probably one of my favorite stories in video games, with how much nuance it has and a lot of like theorizing and analytic like kind of videos you see online talking about it. It's so good. It's a very depressing game. Like, this is a very, very dark video game. um, but it's so good. Love it so much. If you haven't seen or played Silent Hill 2, I highly, highly recommend it. I know that they're coming out with a movie that's based on Silent Hill 2, and I really don't know if it could live to the same amount of nuance as the games. So yeah, Silent Hill 2. Love it so much. Next up, we have Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoons. I swear that this had a different box art. Yeah, I swear that there was two different box arts for this game. This is one that I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll probably check this out sometime. This is by fucking... I know who makes... Is this just by Sony? No, I swear I know the team who made this. I don't know. But, yeah, this wasn't like a game I was like... I really needed to play, but if I got to it, I could see myself checking it out. Kind of like a stealth, kind of cartoony stealth game. But yeah, I have it. If I want to play it, I can play it. We have SOCOM, U.S. Navy SEALs. Not one I really know anything about. Yeah. We have two games coming up here. The two last games left. We have Sonic Heroes. Another game I've been wanting to go back and try to finish because I've only played a little bit of the Sonic Team's story, Team Sonic, but it's just fun. It's just a fun game. Also, the theme song Sonic Heroes. My friend and me love that song because we listened to that a lot while playing Sonic Frontiers, because they reuse a lot of old music from that game. But this is a game I want to go back through just to finish, just to say I beat it because it's just fun. I could see myself playing this. Is just like just a lazy day when I'm bored. Just want something fun to play. So Sonic Heroes. And the last game that I have for PS1 and PS2 is one I can't really say much about, but Time Splitters Future Perfect. I always forget how to pronounce. I always forget what if it's Perfect Future or Future Perfect. But yeah, Time Splitters 2 is the only one in the series that I've been actually wanting to play. But I have Time Splitters Future Perfect, and that's about all I can say. I've really only wanted to play Time Splitters 2 because I've seen that has like cool locations and cool like guns and all that. But if I ever feel like playing a Time Splitters game, I have this. So yeah. And I think Time Splitters was actually like the people who made the Time Splitters were people who left Rare at the time after working on stuff like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, I think. So it was cool that they didn't really go far from what they made previously. So yeah. And that is all of my PS1 and PS2 games. That's my collection of those. In the next one, I'll definitely be down to check out PS3, PS4, and PS5 games, which I will definitely have more to say on those games because I will definitely have played most, if not like all of those games, like the ones I have for PS4 and PS5. I haven't played all of the PS4 and PS5 games I've played, or that I have, like, own, but I played more of them than, like, most of the other ones. Like, I've had in my different, like, Nintendo, Xbox collections, because they're way more, like, modern, So, yeah. So, yeah. We'll talk about that next time. See ya.